Hey guys, Constance here at A Good Life Farm. So this is the second part of the Q&A video. Last week on social media I asked people to put in suggested questions, and there was lots of questions that were submitted, many more than I could do in one Q&A video. And so I've kind of broken it up, and this is the second part of the Q&A. There are a couple of questions that I'm not going to get to in the Q&As at all, simply because the answers to those are very in-depth and would be too much for a Q&A video, and so I'll be dedicating videos to those specifically. And so let's get started. What homesteading books would you recommend? Now, I have a lot of books. I tend to collect books. I've got books about chickens, I got books about goats. I've even recently gotten a couple books about bees, because someday down the road we hope to start beekeeping. I will be actually taking a class, doing a hands-on workshop at the Homesteaders of America conference this fall in Northern Virginia. Looking forward to that. So that is something that I've been adding to my library. But like I said, I have a lot of books, and I could probably dedicate an entire video on just books. But for this video, I just picked out a couple of my favorites. First of all, you know, I like to grow herbs out there in the garden, and I'm growing more and more of them every year. And an excellent resource for using those herbs, not just for cooking, but for medicinal purposes, is Rosemary Gladstar's Medicinal Herbs. This is a beginner's guide. It is a great book. It shows you how to use things, how to make the poultices, what they are. It is just a great resource if you are just getting started using herbs medicinally. I started using herbs medicinally over a decade ago, and I have found it to be very helpful in my life. It has allowed me to not have to use a lot of prescriptions for things. If I have something that I need to treat, the first thing I do is I look up the information in my herbal books. That's the very first thing that I do. And I have others as well besides these. These are more about how to use the herbs, and then I have some other books that are more of the what herbs you use for what ailment, and they're just a great resource. Now for gardening, I think this is an excellent book, The Heirloom Life Gardener, and this is from Baker Creek, where I get a lot of my seeds, the majority of my seeds. Excellent information on just gardening. It's just an all-around great book on getting started gardening. So if you are new to gardening or you want to get started gardening, I highly recommend this book, The Heirloom Life Gardener. And they even have a section in there on city gardening. So if you live in town, you can't have a homestead with a farm and everything, but maybe you've got a balcony or a patio where you can grow. There's even information for people like that in here. So this is a great little gardening book. And then a book that I'm reading right now is Holistic Goat Care. Yes, that was another one of the questions. When are you getting goats? We are getting goats. I don't know when. I don't really have a set time. It's kind of one of those things where I wanted to do it right away, but then I wasn't ready to do it, and then other things kind of keep getting pushed up, which pushes the getting goats back. We do still plan on getting goats. That is one of our goals down the road. I just don't know exactly when we're going to do that, but prior to me doing that, I want to make sure I know what I'm doing. I don't want to go into keeping goats blind or uninformed or ignorant of how to properly care for them. So I've been reading books, I've been doing workshops, and I've been gathering as much information as I can so that I have the knowledge to care for the goats. And just reading this book right here, Holistic Goat Care, has given me a lot of great information, things that I didn't know about goats and kind of needed to. So I'm finding this book to be very, very helpful. Holistic Goat Care by, and I'm going to butcher this name, Giannicles Caldwell, Holistic Goat Care. Now, in addition to these, I have a lot of other books that I really like and I find very helpful. Now, in addition to these books, I have several other books that I highly recommend on a variety of topics, including the ones that I touched on earlier about herbal treatments and things like that. I have those books listed in my kit.com collection. That is essentially a list of all of the things that I use, and it's categorized by books, kitchen things, homestead things, gardening things, etc. And you can find that linked below this video and underneath most of my newer videos ever since I set up that kit page. You can also find all of these items on my blog, cosmopolitancornbread.com. In the menu bar, there's a thing called Stuff I Use, and if you go to that page, you can also find all of the items that I have talked about. How did I come to be in the military? Well, now my entire life I have been a nature lover. I love the outdoors, I love plants, I love animals, I love all that stuff. And I spent my life, I spent a huge part of my childhood playing in the park and climbing trees and all of that stuff. So I've always had a love of nature. And then when I got into high school, I actually developed a love for science as well, particularly natural sciences, biology, ecology. I loved it. I found I had a passion for it, and so originally my plan was to become a conservation specialist, and I was accepted to University of Stevens Point and had all the plans to go there. And then when I got the acceptance letter from the college, my dad asked me, "So how are you going to pay for it?" And that just kind of waylaid my plans. And hindsight 2020, at the time, my being 17 years old, I didn't understand what my dad was asking me, and I know now he was just wanting me to think about how it was going to be paid for, as in start applying for scholarships, grants, things like that to help out. He wanted me to have an active role in the planning of that. But my immature mind said, oh, well, I guess they're not paying for my college. And so I joined the Army and left my hometown behind. Shortly after that, I met Mr. Smith in chapel service. A couple months later, we got married, and the rest is history. Now, I did not make a career of the Army. I did not stay in, but Mr. Smith did. And that is how we ended up being an Army family for 25 years. And now we have retired at a Good Life farm. What is your Myers-Briggs personality? I actually took that years ago. I took the test for that. The test that I took was actually very in-depth. It took over an hour to do. It had you figuring out puzzles and math equations and all of this. And it said that I was INTJ, which stands for Introverted, Intuitive, Thinking, Judging. And now they actually have a dash with another letter after that, and it is A for assertive. It's interesting because I was asked that question, and I'm in a group of homesteading YouTubers, and someone in there asked that question. And oddly enough, there's a lot of IN ... people in there. So I found it interesting how many YouTubers in the homesteading community are introverted, and yet here we are putting our lives online. But yeah, I found that interesting. So INTJ, which is supposed to be the rarest personality trait. Yeah. So just a couple of things about the INTJ personality trait. It says here, people with this personality type are imaginative, yet decisive, ambitious, yet like their privacy, curious about everything, but remain focused. They are serious and prefer to design and carry out effective plans rather than waste their time with foolish distractions like gossip. Yeah, so there I am. Alright, so next question. Wondering why the daikon radish tops from a few videos back went into compost and not to the chickens or ducks. To be honest with you, I just didn't even think of that. I just didn't. I just automatically take every kind of scrap like that, greenery type things, to the compost. There's certain things that I know the chickens will love, and I just automatically give to the chickens, but when it comes to stuff like that, I just didn't even think of it. I just automatically thought compost. What YouTube channels do you watch? I have quite a few channels that I am subscribed to, but honestly, I don't have a lot of time to watch videos. There are certain channels that I will watch more frequently than others, but I rarely get a chance to watch all of their videos. Honestly, if I'm spending time watching YouTube, then that takes away from the time that I have to make things for YouTube. If I'm going to be making videos, that takes time to film like this or to then edit. And if I'm watching a lot of videos, then I don't have time to do the creation part of it. But that said, there are a few channels that I am subscribed to and I watch fairly regularly, such as Roots and Refuge or Big Family Homestead. So there's a few of them out there that I subscribe to, but there's very few that I actually have time to watch. Why is there a doghouse in your chicken coop? That's a good question. So the A-frame chicken sled has milk crate nesting boxes in there. Now Edith is our Roman tufted goose, and she has her own goose house, a large dog house, with the straw bedding and everything in there. And the chickens discovered that they really liked laying their eggs in there, which was fine until she went broody and was sitting on her nest, and that led to all of the issues that we had of chickens trying to get in there, chickens being killed by protective geese, and it was just creating chaos. And so what I did was I got a second doghouse for the chickens to go in hopes that that would help alleviate the problem. And it helped a little bit, but we were still having issues because once chickens start laying somewhere, they want to keep laying there. And I've talked about that in the past. That's why Archie had to go away, because he was killing chickens. But over time, the chickens started laying in their own doghouse, and they love it. They love it as a nesting box, and so I just keep it inside the coop. Although right now, because it is so hot outside with summer weather here in the south, and I've got some broody hens, I don't want them spending all that time inside the chicken coop, inside a doghouse. There's just not a lot of airflow, and so I took the doghouse out and I have it sitting next to the coop at this point. Once things start cooling down, I will put it back in there. It's just turned into a very handy and odd nesting box. The chickens like it. They like it better than the milk crates. They like the straw bedding and all of that. So that's why there's a doghouse in the chicken coop. You mentioned that you don't have a dishwasher. How did you remove it and stop the water from flowing and all of that? So under the kitchen sink, if you look down there where your hot water and cold water come in, usually out of the wall to go up to the faucet, there's generally a little branch off where there's another hose that will go over to your dishwasher. And you'll usually see a handle that you can turn it on and off. And so that was very simple. I just turned off the water that directed over to the dishwasher, and then I was able to disconnect that. And so the water still goes to the faucet, but it doesn't go out to where the dishwasher was. And then we simply slid the dishwasher out, unplugged it, and hauled it off. It was easy as that. What new thing do I want to try in the garden next year? I don't know yet. It's a little early. I do know that I'm going to start adding more raised beds. So at this point, I do know I want to simply try more varieties of things. I'll probably try some more tomatoes and just experiment with things like that. Once winter comes, that's when I start looking at the catalogs and I start looking at what I want to try out. But at this point, I don't yet know what I want to experiment with. So we'll just have to wait until the seed catalogs start coming in this winter and I start brainstorming with ideas. Alright, so that is it for this Q&A. If you have more questions that you would like to see answered, leave them in the comments down below and I will add them to the growing list. Thanks for watching, you guys. My name is Constance and we are here at A Good Life Farm. I'm a blogger over at cosmopolitancornbread.com where there's hundreds of articles and recipes that you can browse and enjoy. I do 3 videos a week here on YouTube about homesteading, home cooking, and back to basics with occasional bonus videos like this Q&A. If you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and you can ring the bell for notifications when there's something new. Thanks again to all of you who submitted the questions. I appreciate them. And thanks for joining me here today, you guys. I will talk to you all next time.